While Arrow Home Video is known for releases of a lot of foreign titles and a lot of obscure horror and cult movies, they do occasionally pick up discs or titles from big studios, films that have had studio releases that got major theatrical U.S. releases. And this is one of them. This is Tremors from 1990, a film that I saw probably the year late, that same year or a little bit later. Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire was doing this event called Monsters on the Prowl, and it was a lot of old trailers and film clips and an old Bugs Bunny cartoon, and the centerpiece was Tremors, which was a movie that had come and gone at the time. I remember seeing the TV ads for it. I think I have a couple of them on tape from back when they were on TV, and it looked like an amusing movie, and it didn't play at my local theater, and I never saw it. And I got this chance to see it a year later. My friends and I went just for the heck of it, and we loved it. We were like, oh my God, this movie is great. And it was a movie that, did not do much of anything in the theater at the time, but gained a following on home video to the degree where they started cranking out straight-to-video sequels. And now at this point, we've got, is it 6 or 7 Tremors straight-to-video sequels and a TV series, and the popularity of Tremors just keeps going. But if you go back to the original film, which is what we have here, it was a total throwback to the 50s Universal monster movies. Not the Frankenstein, Dracula, but the monolith monsters and tarantula and stuff like that. You have this desert community that is being attacked by these giant underground worms, basically, that burst up out of the ground and take people down and never to be seen again. And you have these two guys, these two just average southern, southwestern working men, Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon, who are about ready to leave town. They decide to leave town one day too late, because as they're about to leave, these worms attack, and they're the two guys who are sort of, along with a female college student geologist, who decide to use what they have and what they've learned in life to try to save this little tiny community from these giant monsters under the dirt. The movie's a total blast. It is very funny. It's scary and exciting when it needs to be. All practical effects, pre-CGI, so it all looks and feels like it's really happening there. There's no CGI to take you out of the movie. And the effects, which, I'm not going to say they're simple. They were done by a great Hollywood effects team. They're all believable. I don't think there's anything in the movie that takes me out of the moment. It's not real. There really aren't giant worms in this film, but it's just so well done, and the actors do such a great job selling the terror that it's just, Tremors is just a total blast. So in the cast, you have the two that I mentioned. You have familiar faces. People now still would be Reba McEntire in her first film role, and you have Michael Gross, who was, the father on Family Ties, who was playing way against type. I mean, he'd done, I think, a TV movie or two at this point where he played like a, just with a mustache, a dirtbag, very much not the Keaton from TV that you knew. But in here, he plays Burt Gummer, who is this armed-to-the-teeth survivalist who's been waiting for the day that he can, lock and load and unleash a ballistic hell upon someone or something, and it turns out to be giant monsters. And that's the character that did wind up carrying through, I believe, all of the rest of the sequels. And various characters and actors in the first movie, I think, reappeared in the series. Kevin Bacon never did. Although now it seems like he would be willing to, but I think he was talking about maybe doing a series, but it didn't get off the ground. So you have this wonderful cast of characters. You have great effects. It's just so well shot. It's beautifully shot. And it's just a blast. This is a movie that's appropriate for pretty much all ages. It's a PG-13, I think, at the time because of language and a little bit of, dead body kind of stuff. But I don't think there's anything really horrifically gratuitous in the film. And the Arrow transfer looks good. It looks so good. It's a 4K. They're doing more of these 4K UHD releases, so it looks fabulous. And this is a movie I've seen a few times. I've seen it in the theater, and I've seen it on various iterations of home video. I actually have the old Universal Signature Collection Laserdisc. I can't necessarily say it, but I do have it. And this release from Arrow ports over, going out on a limb because I didn't do a straight comparison, it ports over, I believe, most of the old extras that were created over the years. So you've got vintage TV spots, you've got vintage 1989, 90 behind the scenes and making ofs and cast interviews and all that stuff. Then you've got retrospective interviews that were done for subsequent re-releases on video. And it's just like, it's the kind of extras package that will take you multiple sittings to get through. It's got at least one audio commentary, so much stuff on here, all the trailers for all the sequels. So if you're like me and you're like, I don't really care about the sequels, but I'm curious, well, you get a taste of what all the sequels are like, and see who comes back and see where they take the graboids and all the other iterations of these monsters. This is a and the actual, I don't have the physical set, but the actual physical set that Arrow has put out for Tremors is unbelievable. It's like booklet and poster and the packaging and the multiple discs. It's crazy. So if you're a Tremors fan of the first movie, this is pretty much essential, I would say. I think it easily, as I always say, replaces any previous edition you might have ever had of Tremors, because it takes all the stuff you've had before, gives you more stuff as far as extras are concerned, and gives you the best picture and sound you've ever seen. So this is a movie I love. This is a movie I'm happy to revisit every so many years. It holds up great. I'm not a big fan of 90s movies in general. The aesthetic of what I see on screen and how it was presented, I don't really look back on fondly, but Tremors has aged beautifully. It feels like an 80s horror movie, but it feels like a 50s horror movie. And I'll just keep repeating myself, other than to say Tremors UHD 4K set from Arrow Home Video. It's a keeper. Definitely. I loved it.